So today's topic's going to be, and we have Curious Jay here from Curious Jay's YouTube channel, and we're going to talk quickly. Well, we hope quickly. There might be more details that emerge as we talk. It always seems to be that way anytime we talk via text message, email, or even on the phone. Sputnik. Now, I wasn't too familiar. Obviously, I know what people know in general about Sputnik, but you were pointing out some dimensions and some other factors with Sputnik that kind of make it almost impossible for what we're told happened during this event.
Yeah, correct. When you research these flat Earth and moon landing topics in general, you come across all these little subtopics, and more often than not, I'm finding that they just don't add up. Well, Sputnik's one that, kind of like you just mentioned, I haven't really looked into Sputnik since I was in grade school and learned about it in maybe 2 sentences in a textbook where they say, prior to the moon landing, Russia actually was winning the space race because they got the first satellite up, Sputnik #1. That's all I knew.
It's funny because that's going to be probably the recurring factor in everything we say, what we learned in school, what we were told, what we were indoctrinated to believe.
Yeah. And so in researching some of this space travel, NASA hoax topics, that sort of thing, I went a little further into Sputnik, further than the 2 sentences we got in grade school. And I realized that, okay, they say that in 1957, the Soviets launched Sputnik. And Sputnik, and you can look this up and see pictures online, Sputnik had a diameter, it was 23 inches wide. Now, I got to thinking about that, and I remembered, the other thing that I remembered from our history books and from different movies and television shows is that people around the world supposedly looked up and could see Sputnik traveling with the naked eye.
At 18,000 miles per hour.
At 18,000 miles an hour and at an altitude of around 100 to 130 miles high.
Now, just for a reference point, just off the top of my head, I don't know if it's the exact height, but that guy who jumped off the thing for the Red Bull jump, that he was around 130 miles up too, right? What I'm saying is the craft was bigger than that, and you couldn't see him with the naked eye.
Right. And along those same lines, when I read this about Sputnik, I said, wait a second, it's over 100 miles high, and it's only 23 inches. And, the first thing I thought was, when you look at an airplane, when an airplane goes up in the air, and it gets 6, 7, 8, 9 miles high, it starts to disappear. It gets smaller and smaller, and you're talking about a 747 plane that's 100 feet long, and it disappears at, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, 10, 15 miles up, it's gone.
But you're still about 10 times lower in altitude than what the Sputnik satellite was.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Sputnik is 2 feet and a 747 is 100 feet, that's 50 times bigger. So the 747 is 50 times larger, let's say, and is 10 times lower.
Mm-hmm.
But it disappears. Yet millions of people around the world supposedly could look up with their eyes and see Sputnik, the 23-inch wide little circle traveling across the sky.
And you actually have BBC confirmation. You have an article from BBC that says that people were able to witness Sputnik with the naked eye.
Yes, and because in thinking about it, it was like my instinctual memory was, oh yeah, people said they could see it with the naked eye, but I just Googled that and checked it to be sure. Came across an article from BBC on the historic event. It says that it was 1957, and it says that the Sputnik satellite, weighing 183 pounds and only twice the size of a football, could be seen with the naked eye as it circled the Earth for 22 days. It also emitted a signal that could be heard on a household radio. So I guess my question is, how in the heck could people see that with the naked eye being so small? But my second question is if it's not what they say it was, what the heck did they send up? What were people seeing?
That's a good question. It says here just some facts that the launch date was October 4th, 1957. and the last contact was October 26th, 1957, and the decay date, that's I guess the time would have come back into the atmosphere and dissolve or hit the ocean or whatever. Well, it's 23 inches in diameter. I don't think it was going to make it through.
Right.
January 4th, 1958. So it's been a few months up in low Earth orbit. Here's a question I'll probably ask throughout and at the end of every one of these series of videos we're doing. Why? Is this something that was this fakery for fakery? Was this hoax for hoax? Were they initiating the hoax with Sputnik so we can initiate the hoax with the moon landing?
Yeah, was
it the fake space race?
I guess, yeah, right. I guess what I took from all of this when I was looking into it was, I was one that was already convinced that the moon landing was indeed a hoax. But a lot of people thought, as I did at one time, that the moon landing could have been a hoax so that we won this space race. In other words, Russia got the satellite up. We can't put a man on the moon, but you know what? Let's fake it so that we, in the eyes of the people, we won the match, right? Yeah. But what if the entire race was a work? What if the space race itself was just a hoax, a front for the people? And when you look into Sputnik and see the dimensions of this satellite and the fact that everyone saw it with the naked eye, I have to ask myself, wait a minute, you're right. Was the whole space race itself a front to get people on board with giving millions of tax dollars to Russia's space program, the U.S.'s space program?